recently just ignited onto the scene, and at least in the Milan fashion calendar, his fashion shows have become blockbusters, I would say, of the week. I think that a lot of people might not know the story of this designer, so I think it would be really interesting for all of us just to hear a little bit about your background, how you got your first start into fashion.
So first of all, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. Even though I'm a little bit tired, I'm sorry for this. Just came in last night. Well, I don't know where to start. It's really a long story. If I start from the beginning, it will take, I think, probably too long, and I don't want to bother you. And I think the weather is too beautiful outside, and there's a big event taking place tonight. But, I mean, it's true. It's a long way. I started a long time ago. I used to go to law school and was planning to become a lawyer. But things sometimes go different in life, and I'm very happy and very blessed to be here today. So I started actually designing, but not clothes. I started designing furniture. And from there, I ended up designing clothing. And today, I have a fashion brand, and that's why I'm here.
Okay, that was a little too brief.
That's a very...
Okay, I might have a few questions
short
for all of us
summary
here.
of a long story. So,
Philip, tell us where you grew up.
Well, where?
Yeah.
Well, I was born in Germany, and my father's a doctor, so I grew up in a quite conservative family. And then at a certain point, I had to go to boarding school because I was so bad at school that my parents decided this boy, he has to make something out of his life. So I went to boarding school, and after this, I started to study law. So this is the beginning of the story. After a few years at university, I wanted to become more creative. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be an artist, actually, but I was afraid to become an artist. I was afraid to become an artist because I was not sure if people really will go out there and buy my art. So I started to design furniture, and I looked at furniture like objects, and I was pretty much inspired from Bauhaus at this time. So Mies van der Rohe and Le Corbusier were my big idols, and yeah, this is how I started to get into the design world. So
who was producing your furniture line?
I'm sorry?
Who was producing your furniture line?
At this time it was a small factory close to Berlin. It was former East Germany, and I was producing steel furniture, only steel. There was no leather, nothing involved. And from there, I developed a complete furniture collection, a complete furniture world, I would say. A lifestyle concept was behind this idea. I ended up having complete bedrooms with pillows, with flower vases, lamps, everything what you can imagine.
And did you make the move into fashion for yourself? Did you create your own fashion label or collection, or did you start working with another designer?
No, I actually started to work with leather because at a certain point I was so much into the leather because of the furniture line I was doing. I had all these amazing leathers, crocodile, ostrich, python, and at the end there was so much leftover of leather at the end, because when you do a sofa, when you design, or when you create or produce a table made out of leather, you have so much leftover. So at a certain point we decided to use these pieces and make something out of it. So we started up doing handbags and small leather goods, and this was the first step into the direction of fashion. And well, things went the way they went, and at a certain point, people start buying the bags. So I thought, well, it could be a good idea, maybe to develop more into this direction. And this was the beginning of the fashion brand.
Which year was that? How long ago was that? What year?
It was a process. So I would say it's more or less 10 years ago.
Okay.
I'm 36 now, so I was 26. I was already doing furniture for more than 4 years. I started with 22 doing furniture, so it's quite a long time ago.
You had such an entrepreneurial spirit from a very young age. Was that just always part of your DNA?
Well, maybe, but when you're young, you're hungry, you want to do something, you want to go out there, you want to prove it to yourself, you want to prove it to your parents. My parents were quite upset at this point because they wanted me to have a different career. They wanted me to finish my university and become a lawyer or a doctor. And so they were not really happy about my decision at this point. So I was really motivated to show them that I can do something out of nothing, which was pretty tough. But, when I started to do leather bags and small leather goods, there was not the idea born at this point to create a brand. I was far away from this idea. This was a development which came step by step right after.
And I think that what's so remarkable about this story is that you went from going to law school, to furniture, to handbags, to really creating a full-fledged fashion brand and world. What kind? I'm sure we've got a lot of young budding designers here. Was there a strategy?
In the beginning, I tell you, there was no strategy because I didn't have any. You all know this. When you are young, when you come from school, or when you just finished high school or your university, you're full of dreams, you're full of emotions, and you don't know anything about life. You don't know anything about the business life. And I can tell you, when I started to work, when I started to do business, this was the point where I started to grow up, because this is the real world. And there was no strategy behind, because I didn't have any clue, I didn't have any idea. I'm not working for a fashion house, I'm not working for a big group. I'm an independent label, and being an independent label has its advantages and disadvantages. Especially in the beginning, you have to understand that I built something out of nothing. There was nothing there was nothing. So, and on top of this, people didn't believe in me and in what I was doing, because they didn't heard about it, they didn't know who's this guy, where he's coming from. So it was quite tough, to be very honest. You have to be really self-confident, because you will end up questioning yourself again and again. Is that what I'm doing? Is that the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? Will I succeed or not? Because you have to be strong. You have to believe in what you're doing, and this is the most important thing. And you have to dream, and you have to continue dreaming, because this keeps you going. This is the motivation. It's all about dreams. And I would say I'm a big dreamer.
That's great.
Thank you. But this is really true. It's the dreams, and everybody needs the dreams. If you don't have any more dreams, then what's the reason to be alive? The dreams are the main motivation for every one of us.
Absolutely. Were there any people that helped you along the way? Who was kind of instrumental to kind of guiding you and helping you along the way, both inside your company and outside your company?
Well, as I said, my father was a doctor, so he was not really a good businessman, so he couldn't help me at all. In the beginning, there was really nobody. It was only me, and it took a while until I could hire my first employee. It took me really a few years. It was a one-man show in the beginning, working out of the basement of my parents' house. Then, with my first money, I hired someone who's still in my company, so I'm very happy about this. But believe me, I was not able to pay a big salary, so the people who started to work for me in the beginning, they were not really professionals. They didn't come from the industry. They didn't have any idea about how things work. We did it learning by doing. This is how I would describe it. And right. It takes you a while, but you will make a lot of mistakes on the way. As long as you do more things right than mistakes, you keep on surviving.
When did you do your first fashion show?
Oh, my first fashion show. When did we do our first fashion show? You know it? 2010. And
was that in which city?
It was in Milan.
And why did you pick Milan?
Because there are a few cities you can choose. You can choose between Paris, Milan, London, and New York. These are the most important cities to choose from, and I choose Milan because I produce everything in Italy. I'm based in Switzerland, which is quite close to Italy as well. And I think my brand fits in the Milan fashion world more than into the Paris fashion mode. It's a different direction.
Okay. A lot of fashion shows recently have become spectacles, have become major entertainment. And I think that, your shows in particular have really set the standard for a lot of people. Was that a conscious decision for you? How did that come about?
Okay, I tell you the story. I started to show in 2010 in Milan. At this time, I was not part of the fashion calendar. Okay, there's Camera della Moda, which is organizing the fashion shows during Fashion Week in Milan. So I was not part of this calendar. So I had only a possibility to show outside the calendar, and that means in the evening. Because from the morning until the evening, you have all days shows, and you don't want to have a show taking place, or your show taking place at a time where another big brand is showing, because that would mean nobody will come to my show. And I was also really afraid that nobody will show up at my first show, because nobody knew who I was, and I was really, really scared in the beginning. Anyhow, I started to show in the evening, and some people told me, you will not succeed. In the evening, nobody will come to your fashion show. All the fashion editors are busy, they are tired, they have their dinners going on, so forget it. Anyhow, somehow we made it. I was really surprised about the big success, to be very honest, because we had so many people joining us from the very beginning, from the first day one, from day one on. And I created out of a show an event, because for me it's very important that people have fun. Fashion is about having fun and about enjoying the world of fashion. And you have to understand, during all the day, people go from one fashion show to the other. So it's getting quite too much after a while. You run into a show, 10, 15 minutes later, you go in the car, you go to the next show. So this is the day of a fashion week. So I wanted people to come to my show and relax and to forget about the long day and just to have fun. Because I'm a designer, so I'm creating clothes, but also I'm creating a world, because I'm not only selling clothes, I'm selling emotions. And this is what it's all about today. I cannot reinvent the fashion. Nobody can. Everything nearly has been in the market already or have been seen already. You can just find a new interpretation of a dress or of an accessorize, a shoe, or whatever. So at the end, it's all about emotions and about dreams, as I said in the beginning. And I was trying to create emotions and create a dream during the show, so I created a real show. And after the show, we always have a party, an event going on where people just stay there and enjoy. So I didn't want people to run outside. I wanted people to stay and keep them at the venue, at the location, and just be happy and hang out with us and have a drink and dance.
Tell us, I've been to quite a few of your shows, but I assume the majority of the audience has not. So can you tell us some of your more memorable show experiences?
Well, every show is special. Every show is different, because every collection is different. Every season is different. I was really pretty much impressed during last Milan Fashion Week in September, because we had so many people trying to get into the show. There were a crowd of nearly 3,000 people standing outside trying to enter the venue, and we had 160 securities, and there was, at a certain point, it was really, really tough. It was like a Backstreet Boys concert. So it was a quite interesting moment for me to see this kind of interest into the brand and into what I was doing. And also the show before, during Men's Fashion Week, what we did a great show in an old swimming pool in Milan. It was an outdoor location with a big old swimming pool with water inside, and there was a huge party afterwards going on, and I don't know, like again, 2,000 people having fun until the police came and stopped the event. So it's a different way of having a fashion show. Nowadays, most of the fashion brands, they're very selective. They invite maybe 200-300 people maximum, and they try to stay very exclusive. I think, I design not only for the fashion press, I design for the people, I design for the consumer and for my clients, and I try to be a little bit more open and more accessible to them, yeah. This is also when it comes to the pieces during the show. I don't design for the catwalk. I design for my customers. And whenever you see a Philipp Plein fashion show, you will see only pieces which go also into the stores. I don't like the idea only to design for the image or only design for the fashion press. I want to design for myself and for the customers, because the biggest compliment for me is to see people wearing my clothes.
Which you're seeing more and more, I assume.
Yeah, that's true.
So, interestingly enough, I assume you didn't have the opportunity to go to a fashion school, a fashion design school. Is that correct?
That's correct. And this is also, I think, a big advantage. On the one hand, it might be a disadvantage. On the other side, I think it's a big advantage. Whenever you do something and you come from a different angle, you don't have a certain education, you will do it automatically different. Yeah? And I think this is part of the success of the brand Philipp Plein, that I didn't have this experience and I didn't have this possibility to go to a design school. So I started to do everything different, maybe than other people would do it. And this is what I always tell to the people in my company. I tell them the part of our success is, or it's a slogan we have in the company, we are born to be different. And this is the reason to exist. As I said already, it's really tough nowadays to create a fashion brand and to create something, because when we talk about fashion, we talk about old economy. It's not like the new economy. We're speaking about Instagram, Facebook, and all these great stories of success. It's not that you have an idea and overnight you go to the stock market and you make billions and millions and you have a huge success just about having an idea. In the fashion industry, you have to perform. And this is the most important thing. I mean, I'm not coming from a mega rich family. I didn't have any support from my family, or I don't have any investors in the back. So the only reason why I'm here today and why we have stores now all over the world and why we're doing what we are doing is because we are successful in selling clothes. We are really performing. And fashion is something very glamorous, and when you look outside, from outside, as an outsider, you think it's only about glamour, about beautiful dresses and beautiful clothes, beautiful people. It's a very tough business. It's a very tough and very competitive business. And in order to be successful in this industry, you have to perform.
How much do you, or how do you divide your function between a designer and a CEO?
Well, to be very honest, running a fashion company takes a lot of time from you. And I would say, you know, I like to be a businessman one day, and the other day I can be a designer. I jump between these two worlds. But to be very honest, 70% is the business, 30% is the creative part. Because, you know, you can be the best designer, you can have the most beautiful clothes, but if you don't marketing them well, if people don't see them, if you don't have the possibility to show them to someone, and if there's no one buying it, you will not succeed. I mean, this is the reality. Yeah, you have to have a lot of things going on around it to make it become a success. And I mean, I can tell you that we are today, all in all, we are nearly 300 people working in this company, and it's quite a lot of work.
You're up to the task, huh? Tell me, what do you hope to have happen for Philipp Plein in the next 5 years? What would you like to become?
Well, you know, as I said, I'm a dreamer, and I want to go on dreaming, because I realized, you know, once you realize your dream, you go into depression. Yeah? Because at the same time you realize your dream, you destroy your dream. Yeah, because it's realized, so you have to have something, another goal going on. No, to be honest, I mean, my brand at the moment is expanding mainly in retail. This is a big development right now. It's also very interesting, very exciting. I just came back last night from Los Angeles. We opened in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive our third store in the US. we have a global expansion right now going on. We are at the moment at 38 stores. We will have 60 stores at the end of the year, and we are targeting to have nearly between 85 and 100 stores at the end of next year. So as you can see, we are opening up nearly 2 to 4 stores a month. So this is very exciting. I have the possibility to travel the world, to get to know a lot of people, countries, and to learn a lot. It's very, very inspiring as well. Well, this is for the next 5 years for sure the target to develop the retail. And I mean, for the future, I hope I will go on doing what I'm doing. But as I told you, I'm coming from a completely different background. I never planned to do what I'm doing today, so I have to go with the flow.
Would you ever consider going back to your second job and introducing a furniture line?
You know, I'm so much into interior, and I love it, and it's more or less a hobby today. I mean, the company which was producing for me the furniture, I own it today, so I'm also doing steel. I have a steel production, and so we are still in this business. And you know, opening up so many stores has a lot to do with interior and interior design, and it's very exciting to work on all these architectural projects. Maybe, but at the moment I like to do it for myself, and I work on a lot of interior projects at the moment for myself.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'd like to open up the floor to questions to Philip.
Did you ship to Switzerland or Germany for tax purposes, or was it for other?
Yes, I moved to Switzerland for taxes, and I'm very happy. But I heard if you live in Dubai, you have 0 taxes.
Hidden taxes.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for that. It was really interesting to hear your story. So, my first job out of university was in a shop out in Spain that carried about 90 to 100 brands. And when I first joined, they just started buying Philipp Plein. And I remember it was like a rail that was like a meter and it was so different from everything else. And this was a store that carried Cavalli, Valentino. And I guess throughout the years that I worked for that store, and now that I guess I have my own business now, that store actually turned their entire business into a mono-brand Philipp Plein store. And I think that was really interesting from them as a journey, because they had all these huge big brands that were very, very established and had a lot of, heritage behind them. But your brand just like completely battered everyone out the way, to the point where the owner of the store went, you know what? This is so much more profitable and lucrative for me to be selling and focusing on this one brand. And it was really exciting at that point. And I guess the question is that really from even that like micro little story that I have of just that one rail to the whole store, you taking over the whole store, and now you're opening 60 stores by the end of this year. What do you feel helped prepare you for scale? And what has been the biggest challenge of going from, when you're talking about your first employee to now this huge business? What has been like the challenge? And if there's anything that prepared you for it, what was that?
Okay. Well, we were born as a wholesale company, this is right, and this is normal. We were only distributing the clothes to multi-brand stores. And the development in retail, or into the direction of retail, came from the wholesale partners, because they were performing quite well with the product, and at a certain point they decided to turn their store into a Philipp Plein store. So as I said in the beginning, it's all about performance. If they would have not sold the brand or the product very well in their store, they would never have made such a decision. And this is also the beginning how I started to grow up faster and faster, and with the partners, with the partners. And we didn't have, at this point, no idea about retail. We didn't know how it works. We didn't know how retail is structured. And believe me, until today, it's still very tough and very, challenging to operate retail stores. now we started also to operate our own stores and to invest into our own stores, which is it took me a while to understand the retail, to build the structure, to have a retail team. And retail is really tough. I mean, it has nothing to do with wholesale. You have to perform. We have really high rents. I mean, if you want to be on Via Montenapoleone, Madison Avenue, Rodeo Drive, or wherever, you have, and you are comparing yourself with the other big brands in the market, you have to perform like them. And this is really hard for a new brand like us. And the biggest problem we have at the moment, and you're right, is our own structure in the back, because other brands, they are on the market since 30, 50 years or even longer, so they had time to build their structure over the last years. Whatever we have achieved in the last 10 years, we had to build it. And I tell you, when I speak about 10 years, it's not really true, because it started with the back. So we are really now into it since more or less 6-7 years. So we had to build everything up in the last few years, and this is very challenging. And we are looking constantly for young people, or not only young people, experienced people who can help us to support this structure and to support this this development and business growth. And this is the most challenging part at the moment, to manage this growth. And but we are very happy because we have great partners, and great partners like the store you worked for, who help us to develop this. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. I'm Romel. I'm from the Philippines. I would like to ask you, what is the most impeccable thought that encouraged you to go on in this platform of business? Because I'm really impressed the way you do it. Thank you.
I didn't get the question right, so.
What inspired you to break off on your own and start your business? Because he was really impressed by your...
Okay. What made me start my own business? Well, I wanted to break out from my parents' home, to be very honest. You know, I was at boarding school, and then I started to become really independent there, and then I had to go back to my parents' place, and I just wanted to be independent. I just wanted to do something which gives me the freedom to decide by my own. And you know, when you're a student, you're not able to do whatever you want to do, because your parents still control your life. And this was the first inspiration to become independent.
Hi, Philip. Can you hear me? My name is Aisha, and I'm really, really impressed with your journey. I just wanted to ask you, what's your advice, or what do you think about upcoming designers who are trying to get into stores? Because this region, I don't know if you know enough about it, but the boutiques here, they're all on consignment basis. And for upcoming designers to do consignment, it doesn't make sense, because there is a lot of capital that you got to put in for the consignment period, and sometimes it sells, it doesn't sell. So what is your advice on that? What do you think? I don't know what happens elsewhere, but here in Dubai, it works on consignment basis, majority of it. And this doesn't work for upcoming designers.
Well, I can only give you the advice. I would not work on consignment, because it's not fair for you, for your product. I mean, we didn't start. I mean, you know, to build a brand and to build a business like this, you have to have capital, you have to have money to invest, and you should be in a good condition. And working on consignment is really tough. In my point of view, also not always fair. I mean, when I started, I never gave consignment to anyone. Today, I mean, we have different contracts with different partners, but we are talking about a different level and a different volume today. But I can only tell you from the beginning, if someone believes in your product, if someone wants to sell your product in their store, they have to buy it, and they have to pay you. And in the beginning, to be honest, everybody had to pay us in advance, which is also not very usual in the fashion industry. I came from the furniture, with a furniture background into this industry, and in the furniture industry, it's normal that people pay you in advance before you deliver. In the fashion world, it's not. It's really a fucked up industry. People don't pay. I'm sorry to say this, but when you are a young designer, and you put all your money, all the money you have into your collection and the trade shows you're going to expose, and believe me, I did all the trade shows which exist. I went from Tranoï to Cautery in New York and Project in Vegas. I was always on the plane with my luggage, with my collection, traveling around. I mean, you need the money, and if people don't pay you, how can you survive? Well, I wouldn't do that consignment. If someone wants the product, they have to believe in it, and you have to be so arrogant and so self-confident into this. You know, yeah, I mean, this is also very important to say. I mean, you know, when you are creating something new, when you're starting a new brand, so you're not a brand at this point, right? Because nobody knows you. So they are going to buy not the brand, they have to buy the product, okay? So, you know, if I would have started to sell cashmere sweatshirts or cashmere pullover, nobody would have picked up my product, because they would say, well, for this price, I'd rather buy Loro Piana because I will get a brand name and they have a history in cashmere and so on. But you always have to concentrate on your product. Your product has to be different than the product which is in the market. And this gives the people the reason to buy your product at the end, because I was starting to put a lot of accessorize, rhinestones, embroidery on the cashmere, and at the end I could sell it even 2-3 times more expensive than a Loro Piana cashmere sweater, because it was more different, it was so strong. So the product is the most important thing to concentrate, because the people will not buy you, they will not buy your brand, they will buy only the product. So this makes people buy your stuff.
Very clear.
Hi, vielen Dank für Ihren Besuch, erstens. I have a question, actually. I know that you're still a young designer, and hopefully you will continue to go on from generation to generation. As we've heard throughout the night, there's sort of been an essence to every brand that is known now as a luxury brand or as a very important heritage brand. And that's the story of the designer that sort of flows through each collection. In 50 years, in 100 years, what would you like us to talk about you? To say the Philipp Plein brand is so-and-so. What would be the DNA and the essence that you hope to be talked about?
Well, you know, my brand is so young and it's just starting to grow and just starting to pick up, and now it's the right moment, you're right, to create iconic pieces. And this is very important for every brand who wants to stay in the market for longer than a decade, to create a DNA. Because this makes the difference between all these brands in the markets. Every brand has a certain DNA, and they have developed this DNA over the years. And this is something we are doing right now. We just started to create this DNA, and I hope that people will recognize us also in the future, hopefully, as a brand which stands for luxury, but fresh designs, contemporary designs. At the moment, we are a very contemporary brand, okay? And Philipp Plein, I would say, is the new generation of luxury brand, because there are not so many new brands coming up at the moment in the market. Most of the brands which are dominating the fashion industry worldwide on a global level are already there since decades, and they have already created this certain image over the years, and we are just at the moment starting to create it. So every brand needs a history, and we are just writing our history down at this moment. So we don't know yet. We are still trying to find our place, but the most important thing is to be different. Yeah? You don't want to look like someone who's trying to follow or like a follower. You have to be independent and different from the others. Otherwise, there's no need for your brand to be in the market and to exist. Yeah.
Hi, Philip. Thank you very much for your talk. I just wanted to find out, it sounds like you've got a number of doors, obviously, opening, and you're going to be opening up so many boutiques. every month. And for the future, would you consider selling to big conglomerates like the LVMHs, Kerings, or Richemonts of the world? And if so, would it be like a minority stake, or would you, allow them to take a majority stake?
I didn't understand it completely. Well, when you build something like I did it by yourself, I don't think you will ever consider to. You can never say never, but I don't think I will ever consider to sell my business. And I have put my brand name on my arm, so it's here. So you see this. So I cannot cut off my arm. I don't want to do that, and give my arm away for money. I mean, at a certain point, I'm living my dream. I'm realizing my dream, and there's so much hard blood into this whole project that, it's not only about money. It's about, creating something and developing something. And it gives me so much joy and happiness. I don't think that any money in the world can give this back.
Thank you very much, Philip. It's been super inspirational.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.